the lessons that a partnership can give you will be valuable to you for the long term, forever. I'd retired as a professional skier. I was looking for what was going to be essentially the next chapter of my life. You popped up on a YouTube video.
Joe reached out to me and he said, look, why don't I work with you on some video content?
I think that was just like the start of an incredible relationship.
Joe is the new director of operations for the Affluent Agency.
Helping some incredible brands that are selling a product that is genuinely transforming people's lives. And there's nothing that gives me more satisfaction than that. We're scaling these businesses to $5 million per month.
How do you juggle running a multi-seven-figure agency, managing the team single-handedly, and also having some kind of a life?
I attach a lot of my success to...
Very recently, I sold my majority shareholding to you. What brought us to that point?
Yeah, so...
Joe, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man.
Pleasure to have you on here on such a big day. Welcome to Agency Giants, Cape Town edition. Here we are, loving it. So you are, for context for everyone who doesn't know you, you are or have been my business partner in the agency for the past 7 years. Very recently, I sold my majority shareholding to you and have retained some equity in the business. What brought us to that point from your perspective, from working together over the years and then really making the decision that you wanted to approach me to sell some of my equity in the business to you so you could take majority control?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. I think it's awesome that we found ourselves in that situation, because when we first started the business, I knew that we were both looking for some sort of big play, big exit play, and I'm stoked for you that you got that, and I'm stoked on like how well you handled the situation when I gave you that ultimatum of I want to buy or I'm going to do something else, basically. So yeah, like mad respect to that. But I think for me it was just I knew the team in the agency was something that I was really passionate about, and I didn't want to let go of their success. And I knew that like just taking the business and owning the majority of it was going to be the right move for me moving forwards. And you know, like, you're so successful, bro, like you've got your other businesses, and I could tell that your focus was on the place that mattered to you the most. And I think that's completely fair enough. And it was where your passions were, it was where your passion lied. And it's where ultimately your future is as well in terms of business. And I think that it was amazing that we managed to scale it to that level until came the right time where I was like, you know, I'm ready to take this on now. So yeah, that's it.
I remember when I first got that message from you, I was sat on the toilet and I got the text and I was like, oh shit. And for a moment I was like, oh damn, like, do I want to sell some shares in the agency? And then over the course of like the next couple of hours, and I just started rationalizing it, just made so much sense, because we had come to a point where you were really doing everything in the business, you know, which was fine for a short period. But then as our friendship deepened and deepened and deepened, it just no longer made sense for that to happen. And I think for me, the agency was always like my stepping stone business. And it's been incredible, and like the memories that we've had in growing that company over the years, like I still believe that an agency is the easiest business model in the world to start, but actually one of the hardest to run. It's such a hard business to run. And so I'm so grateful for the lessons I've taken from that, and still grateful that I have the opportunity to stay involved in the business to an extent, you know. Awesome, man. Can you bring us back to... It's strange sitting here talking in this environment, by the way, isn't it? We've been living with each other for the past 4 weeks. It was the first time in our lives we've had the chance to live together out here, which has been incredible. But it's nice to have a more formal conversation and break some stuff down for everybody who's watching this. And this has been one of the most requested episodes I've had since I've launched Agency Giants. I've been holding it back since we've been together.
Oh, awesome.
Can you give some context on how we first met? Because it was very unorthodox, I would say.
Yeah, so I guess it was quite unorthodox, really. I had obviously finished skiing. I'd retired as a professional skier, and I was looking for what was going to be essentially the next chapter of my life, something to put all of my focus into now that skiing wasn't that thing anymore. And I knew I always wanted to run my own business when I was young. I was, I'm very like an all-in kind of person, hence the skiing, and then trying to find something that aligned with what I wanted to do in business. And you popped up on a YouTube video, and I don't know, man, something weird, like just a certain energy about the video that I got. I was like, I have to reach out to this guy. I had very limited skill sets at the time. But I knew I had something, right? So I'd learned how to do video editing during the closing stages of my skiing career, because we would be following each other around on the mountain all the time, filming each other, editing videos, all that kind of stuff. And I knew I could help you. So I knew that I could improve your YouTube videos, create you an intro, position you in the best possible way. And so I thought, I'd just reach out, like, hopefully, you take my request seriously. I wanted to learn from you. Obviously, you just launched the first social media marketing academy, however long ago it was, 7, 8 years ago, something like that, maybe even longer. And I just wanted to learn, I was just like, right, well, I've got this skill. Hopefully this guy will be able to teach me. We could do like some sort of skill swap. And I think that was just like the start of like an incredible relationship. And as you alluded to beforehand, like, you are my total best friend. Like, you're my best friend. And I think that when I approached you about the exit conversation as well, the purpose, or some of the purpose behind that, was to deepen our friendship. And I'm glad that it did that. And so, yeah, we've just been an awesome journey so far. So.
100%, man, 100%. And I completely agree with that sentiment there. It was an essential move for friendship. Like, it was not whilst there was a business move behind it, it was a friendship move first and foremost. Definitely. It's always like, I remember when you first reached out, and the thing that interested me the most about you was the fact that you came from this skiing background. Because I was like, okay, this guy's got something about him, clearly. Like, I remember Googling your name and seeing you doing crazy flips and shit on YouTube. Like, trick skiing is no joke. Is there anything, like, because obviously that's a huge jump going from being essentially an athlete, which you were, to being a business owner. Do you think that gave you any advantage when you then became to start an agency inside Social Media Marketing School originally? Hold the Frame was the agency now, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Did it give you an advantage?
I think it does give you an advantage, honestly. I think there's something that professional sports teaches you, and it's consistency and input over time. And I think that it's just a statement of like no half measures. Like, if you're going to do something, just go all in. And if you go all in on it and you remain consistent with that thing, it doesn't matter how hard it's going to be along the journey, you will win over time. And so I think that there's comfort in that. And I think that people find that a scary thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be all in. Well, it's like, well, yes, you have to be that, but if you just do that one thing and stay consistent over time, then regardless of the outcome, you will be successful. And so I think that it gave me an advantage from that kind of intrinsic understanding of like just trying my absolute hardest for as long as possible, and then that growth compounds over time, really. So, yeah,
it's really interesting. It's something we talk about a lot, is the unwavering confidence you get when you've been successful in business once or twice, or you've done something at some level of degree of success. Like, let's say you've smashed skiing, okay? Any endeavor that you've had to commit a long time into to then be successful ultimately through delayed gratification, it gives you this level of confidence that you can then jump into something else and to do the same thing, like what you're saying as far as the agency is concerned. And when you've done that a number of times, you feel unstoppable. You feel like you could start any venture at any time of your life. And as long as you remain consistent, you will make it work eventually.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a huge thing that I think many people lack in those early stages, and I think that's the hardest lesson that people have to learn if they haven't had something. For me, it was sales, You ultimately decided, though, to get a business partner in me. I can't actually remember whether... I think I approached the conversation with you first. I think we were in Colchester. I believe that was when we had the conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you were motivated to get a partner into the business, and many people are motivated to get partners in their agency. It's always the age-old debate: do I take the whole watermelon, or do I take a slice? You know. And I'm a great advocate of business partners. We know and are friends of many successful agencies that we've helped over the years as well, like Ollie and Joe from Saw With Us, who are now just absolutely smashing it, one of the biggest D2C agencies in the UK. And you have You have Yandre and Vickers from V8 Media here in SA, and so many great partnerships. But from your perspective, what was it that originally motivated you to get into a partnership rather than keep everything going on your own?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually, because I think it's about self-understanding, really. It's about understanding where your potential weak points are in early stages of the business. And like, if you've got an opportunity to, well, one, learn from someone, which is exactly why I approached you when I saw the YouTube video. And then two, go into business with somebody that has strength in areas that you potentially don't or just haven't learned yet, then that can really accelerate your speed of progress. And so I think that for me, it was just like, well, one thing, I wanted to go into business with you because I like you. That always helps. And two, like I knew you were further ahead than me, and I knew that you had some skills, especially when it came to sales, that I didn't yet attain, I didn't yet have. And so it was kind of this agreement when we first started that I was going to do the fulfillment, you were going to do the sales, and that's exactly what we did. And we smashed it, and we like scaled up so incredibly quickly. And I think the good thing about the story as well is that even if you do decide to go into business with someone, and that can be the right move, it doesn't mean that you're locked into that situation forever. And I think people are always very much like, oh, you should be very careful with who you go into business with. And though that is very, very true, the lessons that a partnership can give you will be valuable to you for the long term, forever. So whether that was a successful partnership or an unsuccessful partnership, there would be things that you learn. And for us, it was the perfect partnership. It was very successful, and I feel really blessed, to be honest with you, because we did it together. We scaled at the right time. We made the exit happen when we knew it was the right time as well. And now we've got these incredible separate businesses that are both scaling incredibly fast. I feel empowered, you feel empowered, and it's just awesome. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, it's worked out perfectly. It's interesting because we grew the agency incredibly quick when we did that merge, and I think like second year we had our first like 100K USD month, and I don't think I know, and it was at a time when we'd doubled down on one specific industry, which was the competitions, wasn't it? And that was a crazy time when that industry was going wild, and we were getting 50K retainers, 50K performance fees from these businesses. But in the wake of all that success, we had a big issue, right? And we lost a bunch of revenue going into Q1. God knows what year that would be now, 2022, I speculate, probably earlier than that. What was that lesson? What happened there in the business at that time when we lost, I think it was about 30% of revenue?
Yeah.
And what are some of the other big mistakes that have been made over the years in this journey to growth?
Yeah, wow. It's a good question. I guess to circle back to that kind of that first, I would say, gold rush where we hit that specific niche, and we were getting like just insane results, like scaling these businesses to like $5 million per month and taking massive performance fees. And to be honest with you, I think that we're a little bit, I don't know.
Carried away with ourselves.
Yeah, I think we got a bit carried away with ourselves, to be honest. I think we were like, oh my God, this is it. We've made it. We'll just do this forever. And then there was like some legality change or something that just wiped out the entire industry. We lost basically, exactly as you said, 50% of all of our revenue. We'd scaled up the team to this like crazy volume, and then we were running around like headless chickens for trying to figure out what to do next. And I think the big lesson from that is like, don't put your eggs in too many in one basket. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Get that phrase eventually. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And that's what we did. It was 3 massive clients that we decided to go all in on, and relying on their success, especially in an industry that's as temperamental as like giveaways or competitions or something like that, was a silly move. It just was a silly move. There could have been things that we did in order to still maintain those results, but not taken on as much risk as we did, as in like not hiring a load of team members and getting new like premises and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that that's the first thing. Too many eggs in one basket, and then also, well, what are the other mistakes? Plenty, to be honest. Like not having good contracts, that didn't help. So when they wanted to leave, they could just leave very easily.
Mm.
I think the other thing as well, and really we're coming around to kind of like my philosophy around running an agency more so now, but really it's just understanding exactly how much value that you have and not being blind to that value. Because I think what happened is we thought we were providing too much value than we actually were. And so a lot of the success of those companies came down to them and not just us. But we thought it was all us because we were running the ads. But there was so many other things that are in the pipeline that mean these companies could be successful. And so we thought we were untouchable, unstoppable. These people relied on us in order to make money and all this kind of stuff. And I think that that's something that you gain over time, this kind of understanding of exactly how much value you have with the businesses that you work on. And the more that you can kind of quantify that and get closer to their numbers and their finances, the more security you get from that, because the more value you have intrinsically as a business. And I think that, that gives you power, really. So,
100%. When you look back to the service that we had back then, it is pretty infantile compared to what you have managed to build in the business, even over the last 12 to 24 months, like the level of service that you've been able to build. What forced that change, and has that been organic over time? How has the service changed over the years? Correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like iOS 14 was the big trigger that shaked up the industry, and then for about a year people were figuring out what the hell they had to do, and then it really birthed what now is, in the D2C space at least, performance agencies.
Yeah, definitely. I think what happened is that we went through our first kind of, our first experience of some sort of market shift, like we went from the early stages of our company was obviously very, very heavy technical media buying. And so we were very data driven, very in the numbers, and we relied on creating lookalike audiences and interest audiences for all of our success. And we were late to the party, but I guess early in some senses, because I know a lot of agencies didn't even make it through this transition. But there was a massive pivot to the focus on creative quality and creative output. And fortunately, we did manage to make that shift in that time, and that was a really interesting lesson for me, that markets don't always just stay the same. They do change and they are volatile. And I think we're about to go through another one with AI right now. And so trying to figure out and look ahead at what is to come based on what AI is going to bring is going to put you in a terrible situation if you don't look ahead, and an extremely advantageous situation and position if you do look ahead. And so, I think that what happened is we were obviously very media buying, technical focused. I kind of had this one day realization that, like creative is absolutely king when it comes to meta ads, which is obviously our core service. And instead of being like, okay, we'll do a bit of creative and, we'll kind of dabble in it, I just went all in. I was just like, right, let's just completely turn this agency on its head. We are now a creative first agency. We'll scale out the creative team. We'll start utilizing way more creative strategists, AI, in order to be able to help us create better quality content at a higher quantity, a massive new studio space so we can get all of the content that we need in order to scale these brands up. And to be honest with you, the results have just been mental, just crazy. Like, we're scaling brands, ecom brands from 200K a month. Last one we did was a collagen brand from 200K a month to $1 million a month in 3 months. That is crazy levels of scale, and that one piece is down to our ability to create incredible, amazing creative at a really, really high quantity. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to get that brand from $1 million a month to $2 million a month. I think that's it's a more broader ecosystem, more dependent on customer lifetime value, subscriptions, and all that kind of retention marketing as well. So we're trying to build that piece out now as well. But that's pretty much it.
Is there a client, past or present, that when you think about the one that you're most proud of, like, is there a client that comes to mind?
Yes, but I just don't think I can drop the name on the poddy.
Okay.
I just don't think I can do it.
Is there a story you can tell?
I would say that the brands that I'm most proud of are the brands. It's basically all of the more recent brands. So all the most recent brands that we take on, because we know we have so much value as a company now, like the transformation that we can put them through is very extreme. So like it's satisfying to be able to go into a business and really make a fast impact. And honestly, I'm not being light when I say this, but in most cases, it's actually now the founder that's the bottleneck. It's the founder's mindset about how big they want to scale, or their understanding of how to acquire capital in order to reinvest, or anything kind of like that. And so what we found ourselves doing more recently is having to create that big vision and that big picture on behalf of our clients. So when we're getting on calls now, we're actually almost creating what the outcome and the vision of their business could be based on what we know as an agency and what we've done for brands and for businesses recently and in the past. And so that's an interesting learning curve, to be fair, as well. But yeah, that's kind of the situation that I'm finding myself in more and more. It's more of like the coaching the brand owner with the right mindset and trying to, almost sell them on the vision of their company being more successful, because I know it can be if it's the right product and if it's the right brand. They just haven't been there yet, so it's much more difficult for them to see. So yeah, I'd say that's how it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So many people watching this will be like, okay, great. You've improved the service over time. You've learned, okay, you decide performance creative is the right thing to do. Now I need to start coaching these agencies. Where have you began to learn these skills? Like, how have you taken the agency from just a meta ad agency at a point offering different services as well, and really refining that down? What has that process been like in a practical sense?
Yeah, interesting. Are you talking more infrastructure, like company infrastructure, or are you talking more like
talking
our
knowledge
secret
and
sauce?
learning.
Okay. So our secret sauce as a business is that we have a really good fundamental understanding of consumer psychology. And the reason that we are now able to move into different kind of businesses like information products, I know we're obviously running your ads and running John Penberthy's ads and some other big names in the info product space, is that we've got a really just very, very kind of accurate understanding of exactly what consumers need to listen to and watch in order to get them to do stuff. And so I break this down. There's usually in ad creatives, what makes a creative so successful is like the psychology behind it. So the way that creative evokes a specific emotion in someone in order to get them to take an action. And so I categorize that into something called psychological triggers. And there's lots of them. You can talk to ChatGPT about all the psychological triggers. It will build you a big list of them. And then understanding what order those triggers need to go in order to get people to do something. And typically it's things like generating a script or an ad that gets people to feel like they trust you and you understand them and you understand that the pain that they're in or the transformation that they want to go through or the epiphany that they need to have in order to get to the other side. And usually your product and the specific unique aspect of the product is the thing that will be able to make that transformation for them. And so when I'm working with any new brand, I'm always looking for that one thing that we can create as like, what is the unique aspect of this brand that will get people the result while everybody else in the marketplace can't do that. And so if that's like a collagen brand, for example, like what specific formula, what specific blend, and why does that blend get people the result of anti-aging or better skin or better hair or better nails? Or why is it that someone would want to come and learn from you, Jordan? Like, why is it that someone would come and want to learn from you about running an agency? And it's often because you've got something unique that is typically the reason or the fundamental purpose of why someone can get from where they are to where they want to be. So whether they're at 10K a month as an agency and they want to get to 100K a month, like what is the one thing that you can offer and how do we position that in a way that makes it seem like you are the obvious choice? You're the only choice that's going to be able to help that person get to where they want to be. So yeah, it's your psychological triggers, it's your ad frameworks, and then it's your unique mechanisms. And you hear people talk about this, you know, all the time, I guess. But I think that we have a really deep level of understanding, and all of the stage talks that I do now, I try and gear it more towards that because it applies to any single industry. If there's a consumer that wants to buy something from your brand, they usually have to be aligned with all of those things in order to make it successful. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Very cool. Very cool. And that is a product of repetition over time and making mistakes, or have you?
It is,
Yeah.
I think it's a product of experience, honestly. I think it's a product of experience, and I think it's a product of when you see something working, trying to understand why that is happening. Like, what is the true reason? What is the thesis as to why these ads are working in this ad account?
Yeah.
Because if you understand what that is, you can replicate it. And if you can replicate it, you can do it at quantity, and at scale, you get better and better results, and you get more and more scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming from that place of where you are right now, and you're delivering the results that you're delivering for clients, you've worked with a lot of our clients as well on the academy side. You've mentored a lot of people. You host a couple of calls a week on ads training and so on. So, and I want to, just as a kind of future pace, I want to unpack AI. I'd like to unpack where you see the future of the agency going. I'd also like to unpack some of your goals. But if we get a bit techie for a moment, just for the guys that are in the ad space in particular, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making that are like on repeat? Those questions, those issues that you just banging your head against the wall every week when you come across the same thing. What are those fundamental mistakes? Maybe if we bring it down to 3 mistakes that people make, high leverage mistakes in getting client results.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the 3 biggest things that I see, are we talking specifically like new start agencies or like established agencies, or where are we at?
I think irrelevant to the stage of the agency, would just a performance agency, so an ad agency, meta agency with a relevant service similar to yours, but not necessarily direct to consumer, lead generation as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I think one big thing is like most agencies don't do. So I have this kind of like this philosophy which has served me very, very well when it comes to onboarding new clients and getting people insanely quick results. And that is that the market decides. So that is the statement, the market decides. And I think people in business, or whether it's an agency running some campaigns on behalf of their client, they always think, how do I manufacture an ad in order to get people to buy because of what I've manufactured? And I think that it's just the wrong way to look at it. I think that, and it's people do this in business all the time as well. They go, right, how do I create this product and how do I impose that product onto the market to make sure that they buy it? And I think if you just switch it round, you are gonna figure out exactly why your product isn't selling in a much faster time frame. So the market decides, right? So number one thing to do is like when you've got a new product or service that you're trying to sell using meta ads, do something like a positioning test. Run 10 individual static ads, have a different piece of messaging on each one of those ads. Each piece of messaging should talk to a different pain point or a different desire or a different aspect of the product or a different transformation or something like that. And then allow the market to tell you exactly what's resonating with them. Well, if you understand what the market is resonating with you, then you know exactly what messaging to keep feeding back to them in order to get them to keep buying from you. And so I think that a lot of the times when I'm reviewing people's ads is like they have really no idea what messaging is working or why it's working. And so it's like, well, if you just ask the market, they'll tell you, and then you can just make more ads based on that messaging. So another reason that people aren't getting results is like, well, they're just not testing enough creative as well. So number one, ask the market. They'll tell you exactly what it is that they're interested in and why. Number two, you're not doing enough quantity. You're not creating enough quantity of creative. Like different creatives talk to different people based on who they are as a person, based on what specific pains they have, based on what type of content they like to consume. And so when you're trying to create an ad account, you're actually trying to create an ecosystem. You're not trying to create one ad that scales the account to 100K a month plus. You're trying to create an ecosystem of ads that all have their purpose in feeding data and getting the result with the market. So it scales faster. And so let me give you an example of this. So video ads, for example, really, really good, specifically like something like a founder story. Whether that's for info product businesses or an e-com brand, a founder story, it's an exceptional way of introducing the market to who you are, exactly what you do and how you can help them, and how exactly your product can help them as well, right? So that's just like one ad creative out of a sea of millions of different ad creatives that you can run. Well, now they might know who you are, and now they might know exactly what your product does, but do they really believe that you can do it? Well, maybe the next ad to run is a customer testimonial where you splice up some of your best customer testimonials, you put those into the ad account, and now they've seen your founder story, so they know exactly who you are, what it is that you sell. And now they're getting the credibility because they've seen people that are like them getting the result that you want, right? So that's the next part. And then, well, what about, okay, so they've got all those two things. Maybe they don't really understand how the product works. Okay, they've got those two things, but they don't understand how the product works. Well, like a product demonstration video where you're actually demonstrating you using the product or running them through the course online or whatever it is, then that ticks off that objection in their mind, right? And then a whole bunch of statics as well, like a whole bunch of static creatives to just remind people that you are there and you will be able to help them solve that problem. And so, when you create an ad account, you're creating an ecosystem, and a big aspect is people are just not publishing the right volume of creatives in the right level of diversification. So yeah, that's a big one.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Is there a third?
Third, I would say, is probably like quality of design. Honestly, I think that's going to change massively now that the AI is coming through and it's getting easier to design higher quality creatives. But really, if the quality of the design of your creative, whether it's the video or whether it's the statics, if it looks crap, it will give the feeling of crapness, okay? And like nobody wants to buy stuff that feels crap. And so like design is a key element, and that's something that you can get better at over time. Hire better and better graphic designers and editors and all the rest of it, have really strong brand books and guidelines which will obviously point in the right direction when it comes to creating new stuff. But honestly, the first two, that's where all of your leverage is. Ask the market, create an amazing ecosystem of ads, and just make sure they all look great. If you can do those three things, like your ad account is going to scale.
I know you've got a editing team and designers and so on. Are you yet using any AI tools to aid with creative? If so, which ones? And if not, which ones should people keep an eye on and that you're looking out at?
Yeah, defo. So there's a new one that I've had like 3 people send me the link to in the past 2 days, which I haven't looked at yet. So I might name drop that one. But the first one that comes to mind is Ideogram. So Ideogram is just a really, really fast way, especially if you don't have a team of designers, a really, really fast way to create some really cool eye-catching static creatives at scale. So that's a really, really cool one. It's like it's almost like there's a little a canvas option on Ideogram, like an editing tool aspect of it. And then you can literally like drag and drop products in there, people's faces in there, draw boxes around it, and then it automatically generates all the background and also does the text perfectly as well. So that's a cool one. When you've got statics as well, you can use something called Kling AI. So Kling AI takes static creatives and it makes them move, but it doesn't make them move in like, you've seen like those AI videos on Instagram that are all over the place. It makes them move quite professionally. So they look good. So they look like high quality, which is fine. So that's a nice little tool that you can use. And then honestly, like the biggest ads that scale in the majority of our businesses are video ads. And the reason that video ads work is because 95% of the reason why they work is because of the script. So the foundational aspect of the ad, which is the script, and how well your message resonates with the consumer is the main reason why it works. And so using things like ChatGPT and Claude in order to help script write is useful. I wouldn't say that it's got the base level context of what frameworks to utilize in order to get you the best scripts. And so I would be looking for some sort of proven framework or proven template in any specific niche, and taking that and then implementing it through AI, and then that will be a good way of getting some good quality scripts out. But I could probably drop some frameworks in this if that would be useful.
Could be
Got some
useful.
good ones.
Well, what we will do is we can post a couple of frameworks with the preview of this video inside the agency owners free school community, so you can join our school community, and maybe we'll drop them in there.
Nice. Awesome.
Thanks for the lead magnet. Appreciate
No drama.
it. Awesome. So you've managed to, this park service, you've done an incredible job on service, and it's something that you've always been so passionate about, which is the main reason we actually started working together in the first place. Like, full transparency, I hated delivering service. I hated running ads. I don't hate service in general. I deliver an exceptional service in the things that I'm passionate about, but I was never passionate about ads specifically. And that's something that has always carried you forward. Something else that I've admired about you over the years that I think that you do an incredible job of is leadership. And I hear you, even just being with you over the past 4 weeks, listening to you on calls with the team and the way that you handle them and the way you go around situations. You're a very different leader to me, but a leader that I admire greatly. And I think there's wisdom within your leadership style that inspires me to be a better leader every day. And I would love to unpack that a little bit. And I'd like to get an understanding of your philosophy behind team management and culture, which is what I believe to be one of the, if not the most powerful parts of the agency that you've built.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And yeah, I think you're right. I think we're sat on an incredible team of people, and
how many people are there now?
22, I think, something like that.
Used to be like 30, didn't it? Did we downscale?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did downscale it. And then we've finished hiring for the next 3 months.
Nice.
I think that the reason for that, by the way, is that AI is moving at such a speed now that I want to see the team in a situation where we can maximize our efficiency as a boutique unit, and get 3x the output from the guys that we've currently got, because I believe it's now possible. And I don't think that was possible a year, even maybe even 6 months ago, but I think that it's getting more and more possible. And so as a business decision, in terms of at the end of the day, what we want to optimize for is profitability, of course, because that aids the rest of the business. Then taking these kind of stints where we scale up team, maximize efficiency. When we feel like we're as efficient as we possibly can be, then scale it up even more, I think is the right kind of flow to do things. But right now it's there's just so much exciting stuff happening with AI that it's kind of we could probably get 3x the output that we're currently getting just by really embedding some of the tools that are out there as much as possible. So that's the strategy behind that. And then, yeah, I think with the team as well, I think what it is that the reason that I started business and the reason that I'm still in business is completely different. I started business like most people to get out of poverty, right? I didn't want to not have any money anymore. And I think a lot of people are in that situation, and that's a good enough reason as any to start. But the reason that I still do it is because I genuinely get excited about the progression of the incredible people in our team. And because I don't know if I've brought out the best of them or they're just amazing people, but they are so committed to the mission that we've set as a company. that I want to make sure that that mission aligns with them and that I'm doing everything I possibly can in order to make that happen based on what their goals are and all the rest of it. So I really just look at the team as kind of this group of amazing people that I just want to give everything I can to them, because they give the business everything back in return. And it's a concept that we were obviously talking about a couple of weeks ago on the sofa over a yogurt bowl, which was nice. Which is, in an agency or potentially in any business, to be fair, you serve its people, the people serve the business, and the business serves you, right? So there's a triangle of focus when it comes to that. And I believe that one of the highest leverage things that you can do in business is to just try and empower your team as much as possible, because at the end of the day, they are the people day in, day out that are working on your business. And so if they are aligned, first of all, with the mission that you've set as a company, the vision of where it is that you want to end up, and also their core values as people are reflective in what the company talks about as well and the way that the company acts, then I think that can be just a really amazing way to grow, to be honest. And so, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's one of the biggest bottlenecks of mid-size agency, and by mid-size agency I mean 50 to 100k revenue. Like, lots of them fail to break through to where we've grown and sort of grown and so on. Many other agencies over the years, that is team, and it's investing into the team in a level that you were not previously used or sold to on investing. Because I think lots of people start business and we have this culture in line in business of like, okay, building a team is just about outsourcing, just get the job away so you don't have to do it anymore. And then you can spend time living free and like doing this and doing that and spending time doing what you enjoy. The whole idea of like outsourcing and just hiring a part-timer and getting someone for really cheap overseas and so on, and just like kind of letting them do their thing, is counterintuitive to what you have to do to build a successful business. Do you think there was a point in the company where, do you think you've ever been in the mindset of just bringing people in to get jobs off your plate, and was there a transitional phase? And also I want to go a little bit deep into what you do inside the business to really reinforce that culture and keep everybody marching the affluent flag, or marching behind you as their leader in the company.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I think like all things that you learn in business, you have to learn by doing it wrong. And like, you're absolutely right. There was a couple of opportunities in the past, and I'm a very giving person generally, so that's how I started the business, and it served me well. And then I adopted a mindset of, I'll just get people in. If they're not good enough, just get rid of them, and kind of like this bit more cutthroat. And it didn't work for me. I ended up having way more stress. I was churning team members, and it just kind of didn't make sense in terms of what I wanted to achieve. And so I flipped back to that original kind of viewpoint of, well, I'll just give these people everything that I've got, and hopefully they give it me back in return. And that has very much been the sentiment of that effort, which is really, really nice. And I think in terms of like, how do you maintain that? Meetings, consistent reminders of what it is that we're doing and how every single person plays a part in that, as much as you possibly can. Giving those team members one-to-ones, giving them the roadmap of where it is that they can take this thing based on what their goals are. And also just like praise, like, I think this is a really nice thing that I've taken out of Alex Hormozi's philosophy, which is like, build a culture on praise, not on fear. And every time I praise the team, they seem to want to put more in. And it's funny that, but it's just, that's just how it works. And so I genuinely praise people for the amazing work that they're doing. And if there are improvements to be made, which of course there always is, we're growing at such a rapid rate, then it's framing that feedback behind you as a person are incredible, and your commitment to the mission is the most important thing. this is the thing that you can do better in order to aid that mission to a greater extent. And here's some other reasons why you're amazing. And then it's like, now they know exactly what their purpose is. They know exactly how it ties into the mission, what they're good at, and they know that they're being seen and being valued as people, and they know exactly what they need to do to work on, like, and that's it really. So yeah, it's just a nice way to do it.
Yeah, I love it. What is the greater vision of the company at the moment?
So the greater vision of the company is I'm working on the mission statement at the moment, but it's quite, and I think this is probably this is an internal thing from me. So I don't, it may be just described as a weakness, to be fair, but like I'm very competitive, hence like the whole skiing thing. I was a professional competitive skier, and so the mission of our company right now is we want to just essentially annihilate every other agency. We just want to be able to grow our clients' businesses so fast that other agencies literally quake in their boots.
So you made me sell most of my equity so you could say, fuck the academy and fuck everyone in it. We want to squash them all.
Oh dear. Yeah. I think in business you come to the realization where you've just got to be like ready to crush your competitors. You just got to be ready. And like, I wasn't always in that mindset. I was in the mindset of I just want to make a bit of money. But now I'm here and I know the potential that we've got as a company. I think that I think we actually can be the best. And that's a really empowering thought, but it also comes at the cost of like destroying others.
Which is business. Which is business. But
really,
what that does is it forces other people to innovate.
It does, yeah.
And that is only a beautiful place to be as a business owner, because with innovation comes sophistication of a market, and just means the quality of agency in the space is higher. And I think that actually we're in a place at the moment where we're at an all-time high of quality of agency. I think that probably answering this question or have this conversation 12, maybe even 24 months ago, and I would have been a little bit kind of dubious around the agency space in general, surrounding the quality of agency. And when I'm referring to quality of agency, I'm referring to the quality of results that people are generating for their clients. But I think that the market at the moment is in a very nice place as far as people being able to generate good results. Yeah. I think that what we've already seen is a purge of the bottom end and the mid end of the market. At least talking specifically to the D2C space, which our agency is in, this doesn't really go for lead generation where most people start, which is why I never really recommend people to start D2C, because it is an industry which is now a bit of a bull pit, and there are a number of us in that pit who are really fighting for the limited client pool that exists. But at least the ones that are remaining deliver good services.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So
I think you're right.
Yeah, it forces people to be even better.
I think you're right, yeah.
You didn't just, saying this, you haven't just decided to stay in D2C, and actually, kind of to my surprise, in the last 12 months, decided to open up another division of the agency in lead generation, really, in the info space. At which point I signed on as a client to the agency myself, which has been incredible. And you've taken on a number of other clients in that. I've had conversations with you in the past where you've had tunnel vision and you've said, no, I'm just sticking to direct-to-consumer e-commerce. That's just where I'm going. And so that's why I was surprised when you said, oh, do you know, I actually might start this other division. What compelled you to make that decision?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good question. And it's a really interesting topic because it's something that I think about a lot, honestly. I think about it a lot, like, would the speed and rate of innovation be faster if we just kept a singular focus? And I think that there's a balance there, I think there's a real balance there in terms of like choosing what new avenues to take on and what new departments and divisions to build inside the agency. And I mean, we made a lot of mistakes in the early phases. We were obviously, this is the giveaway clients. We were doing meta ads to start with. We were very, very good at that specific thing. Then we wanted to serve these companies more. So we decided to do Snapchat ads, then TikTok ads and YouTube ads and all this stuff. And then we essentially completely diluted our ability to get results because we were just scatterbrained all over the place. We couldn't do anything really, really well. And then that was one of the things that led to the first demise, really, I guess, before we then started to build back up. And when we did build back up, I started building back up with the mindset of it's okay to take on new departments as long as every single department that you create and build is self-sustaining, as in it consistently gets the client results without potentially my involvement. And then you can build a new thing as long as you've got the right expertise to learn from. So like when we started doing Google ads, we brought in like literally one of the best Google ads media buyers in the world. And now he's like running that department. And so we inherited his knowledge, but I could pay for it because we obviously had the money from being really, really good at meta ads and scaling businesses up on there. And I think that this translates to obviously, you know, the two niches as well. So we have been very, very e-commerce focused, and that is still, I would say, our bread and butter. But we do also have this new department in info product businesses. Very specifically, what we're really, really good at is building VSL funnels. So doing book a call funnels to a VSL. For anybody that's selling, you know, a course or an info product for, you know, $6,000 or £6,000 plus. And the reason that we did that is because we realized that that industry was probably 6 years behind in terms of its understanding and sophistication of what needs to be done on meta ads in order to keep getting these businesses great results. And so it doesn't get any harder than ecom D2C when it comes to creative output and meta ads. It doesn't get any harder. That is the hardest ballpark to play in, which goes back to your reasoning of why there's so few of us. You know, there's much less of us than there was before. And so understanding that we've built up all of this internal knowledge, and then being able to spot a new opportunity by the way of a different industry, that we can take those exact learnings that we've taken for ecom and apply it to this industry over here, that's, you know, 5-6 years behind. We are going to get insane success. And like just massive leverage, massive success. And so that's what's happened, you know, which is applying the content diversification system, all of that kind of stuff that we do on the e-com side to these guys over here, and the results are just crazy, like absolutely crazy, and it's satisfying, I'd say. So yeah.
It's a topic of conversation that we've had many times over the years, often resulting in me teasing you after coming off a call with the academy, and someone on there has just signed up 5 clients in a week and they've launched ads for the first time and they're generating instantaneous results for the client with minimal effort. And we've always had a laugh and a joke about how easy it is to run lead generation ads and do appointment setting for businesses rather than going D2C, which is just ultimate sophisticated marketing. So it's really just taking something extremely sophisticated, applying it to something that's really simple, and then just watching it surge. Because most of the people in this coaching space have just very, very primitive ad knowledge, whilst they think they've hit sophistication, but which is an interesting concept in itself, I suppose. Of a market can only sophisticate as far as its perceived limit based on its current growth rate. But if you attach the learnings from other more sophisticated markets, then it's almost like a tell into the and it's also a glimpse into the future, I suppose, which is interesting. So taking a step, do you have something to say?
No.
Taking a step back from business for a moment, running an agency is very difficult. There's no two ways about it. Service business in general is difficult. How do you juggle running a multi-7-figure agency, managing the team single-handedly, and also having some kind of a life?
Ooh, that's a very good question, bro. Like I said before, I'm a very all-in kind of person, you know. So I attach a lot of my success to the agency's success. So when it comes to focus, I think that is the number one thing, and I think it will be until I've got the agency to where I want it to be, and we've done the things in business that I want to do. And I think that there's a balance, you know, there really is a balance. when it comes to the productivity side, which I'm trying to maximize a lot of the time, it's, doing things like spending as much time in nature as possible outside of working. It's doing float tanks, meditations, all of that kind of stuff, which really, really help. And when it comes to, I guess, lifestyle, I guess I'm kind of boring, to be honest, bro. I travel around a lot, which is awesome for like different events and to meet people and masterminds and all that kind of stuff, which I love. But like my happy place is just at home with my girlfriend, with my two pet birds, and we're just like hanging out, chilling, and yeah, that's where I'm happy, really.
It's not boring. It's being content with the mundane.
Sure.
Is what it is. Yeah. It's being content with the mundane. There's nothing more beautiful in the world than being completely satisfied in simple, mundane, everyday life. If you feel compelled that you have to go out drinking and you have to do this and you have to be around people all the time, you're chasing a void, in my opinion. So you're not boring, man.
Thanks, man.
You're the most fun guy I know.
Oh,
and we spent all weekend in a tree house and in a game lodge and doing some crazy stuff. And we've had an incredible, vibrant life as we've been here in Cape Town. Sure, we might hibernate when we're back at home, but one thing I've always loved about our friendship is in that time that we do take off, we can just go and stay in a cabin and just sit in front of a fire and just talk. Yeah. And it's just that simple life that we respect, and that's, I suppose, the contrast of the hectic life we live inside of business. Definitely. You mentioned something then, you said, when you have achieved things you want to achieve in business, what are those big pillar, when you think of like the big pillar achievements that you want to achieve as an entrepreneur in general, looking kind of spanning out, I suppose, what are those things to you? Are there a few moments that you have in your head that you're like, when I experience that thing, I will tick this proverbial checklist? Like, what are those tick lists on that infinite game, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good point, and I think I want to raise a point which you might agree with me or you might not do, but for me, like the goalpost is it changes often. So I guess as you move into stuff and you like, the more you focus on something, the more it grows, right? So the more opportunity comes out of your focus, and so it could be like literally just one simple conversation at a mastermind about a certain topic, and then you go, oh my gosh, I realize that is what I want to do. Or it's one person that inspires you that's doing something that you think you would enjoy, and then that changes the goalpost. And so while I have lots and lots and lots and lots of goals, and I've got a very solid and stable goal for the agency, and everybody in the team knows that, a revenue number, a net profitability number, brands that we want to acquire as we scale and exit as well. I think that, half of it is just committing to the journey and then seeing what opportunity presents itself. And if that's something that I'm interested in, deciding to take it up at the time, really. So it's just something I noticed with you recently, like the way that your goals had shifted and this new amazing era that you're moving into with all of the investments that you're doing. And it's kind of something that changes and it's fluid. Although I do have big, financial, very certified financial goals, it's how I'm going to get there is kind of like, I'm kind of leaving that up to what presents itself in a way.
The pivotal moment for me was what I referred to then was The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and it was re-engaging with that concept, the concept that we're not in business for an end goal, and that we are here infinitely, and if we play an infinite game that isn't finite, then we will outlast everybody. And that is irrelevant of vehicle to me. It's irrelevant of the business that I'm running, but it's irrelevant of my goals, and there are goal posts that I will hit throughout life. But then it's also at the same point of that, being able to be obsessed with a specific goal and then throw all of it away because you realize it doesn't align with who you actually are. And that's something I did in the last 12 months, as you know. And that's been amazing in itself. And to be fluid in your life is such a wonderful thing. But do you, looking at those goalposts, I suppose, if we call them, do you want to exit the business? Do you want to exit a business? Do you want to continue running a company forever? Have you thought beyond the next 12, 24 months as far as like the goals inside the company itself? Yeah, what does that look like in a tangible sense?
Yeah, so very tangibly, like the agency is a business that I could see myself running forever. Like an agency is an asset. Like it's a really incredible asset that, given the right opportunity coming across the door, you can utilize that asset in order to help that new opportunity grow. And so whether that's us acquiring brands, and we're trying to push more conversations like that at the moment, or if that's us doing some sort of merger or acquisition with another agency that it makes sense so we can help serve our customers better, then that's definitely something I'm open to. I think one of my passions is, and really the main thing of the vision of the Affluent agency is, we want to help brands that are genuinely progressing humanity, like in a positive way. And so like a lot of the brands that we used to work with were maybe just like cheap plastic crap from China, right? That we just didn't feel good about selling 1 inch. And so like the vision of the Affluent agency is to be able to work with brands that are actually making a truly valuable change. We've sort of found ourselves in this interesting health and wellness niche within the agency where we're helping some incredible brands that are selling a product that is genuinely transforming people's lives. And there's nothing that gives me more satisfaction than selling something that is a cheap piece of plastic that they'll throw away after a couple of days, right? So I think that it's like choosing your battles. But yeah, going back to the question, really, like very tangibly, we want to acquire brands, we want to sell them on, we want to ride some exits, we want to do some mergers, we want to do all those amazing things that'll come with exponential growth, which is what we're going through right now. And when those right opportunities that I think align with my values and the team's values, I think that we'll consider those options and take them on at the right time, and hopefully earn a nice bit of cash out of the back of it.
I think one thing that is interesting about the goals that you have in the conversations that we have together is that you want to continue running the agency indefinitely, because that's dissimilar to what many people want to do, because the agency model is stressful. So like, I need to get out of this thing, I need to move on to something else. But you bring a really, really good point to the table in the fact that, and I will stipulate you're not the only person that thinks like this. Like our good friends at V8 Media think the same way. They're like, we will continue running this agency because it's an incredible asset that we can plug into other businesses, and we can, we can just multiply revenue. And I completely agree with that sentiment. I think it's so invaluable to have direct access to an elite marketing team that you can deploy on any company, because once you understand marketing, you can apply marketing and sales to any business that you touch, because it goes back to those fundamentals. It goes back to that buyer psychology. It goes back to buying triggers. It goes back to understanding the journey and people's needs. And it's just basic human psychology that when you understand to its core, you can apply to any business, any product, any service, and you can multiply revenue better than the business owner themselves can, because you've got the diversity of experience through working with thousands of brands at this point. And that makes you an unwavering force in business. It's probably arguably the hardest department that you could grow in any company. So why would you not retain that company whilst you have access to that company here and now and have spent 8 years building it? So I respect that a lot. But it's going to change a lot as well, right? And this is something we've spoken about at length. AI is going to come in and it's going to disrupt that somewhat. We might even find ourselves in existence where a deployable marketing team is accessible in the form of a SaaS. We don't know where we're going to go. What is your kind of short and long-term kind of vision towards applying AI to that concept of building an incredible marketing team, I suppose? And what do you think are the greatest threats that you are going to try and prevent in the midterm?
Yeah, defo. So I think that just to kind of like encapsulate this big AI conversation, that we've had conversations at length about what we think the future of all online business is going to be, which is potentially like it doesn't exist. It's almost like everything is owned by AI. However, how many years it takes for us to get there is really a difficult guess to try and determine. And so I think there's value in looking ahead, but I just don't know how far ahead. I just don't know how far ahead to look. I think that if there's an opportunity for you to be able to create more value with increased efficiency utilizing AI, then that's where we should put 100% of our focus, like 100% of our focus, because that if we did that, then that efficiency gain is just going to keep increasing. So I anticipate that in the short term, the next 5 years or so, there is going to be an insane opportunity for our company to grow utilizing AI, or at least add just truly monumental value to the clients that we serve. And that's exciting. I love that as a concept because it like rings true to what I believe about business, which is just try and add more value and you'll get better results, right? But in terms of the threat, I think that it's about figuring out, okay, well, maybe there is a situation where everything just disappears or everything turns into a SaaS. Well, one move you can make is you can try and own a slice of that pie. You can try and own a bit of that AI. AI is what we anticipate is potentially going to go through just a massive gold rush with lots and lots of roll-ups happening until it just gets into a smaller and smaller, bigger chunks, like bigger and bigger conglomerates, basically. So owning a slice of that AI whilst it's on the way up, utilizing the understanding that we have of marketing as a business right now, like how do we extract that knowledge and how do we extract that IP and put it into an AI that we can turn into our own SaaS, might be a really nice way for us to do like a SaaS model, or own a slice of AI that could sell for a decent amount of cash in the future. And then beyond that, if everything's owned by one person, then you just got to start looking at different markets. Like, what is the one thing that AI can't own? Well, AI is not going to own like kayaks, like floating down the river. That's a business that's potentially protected. It's not going to own,
physical tangible businesses.
Yeah.
You're coming, just hearing you speak, then you're coming from the perspective of being an agency owner who's already got a lot of knowledge and asset and so on pre-AI. So you're in a unique position where you've built an agency pre-AI and have a really depth of understanding of marketing, business, and so on. But a lot of people starting now are post-AI, and so and this is an interesting concept. The people that start AI are innovating the industry and moving forward in the industry in a completely different manner in which you are. You're coming from the perspective of real wealth of knowledge, personal understanding of an industry, and so you can turn that into a practical tool, or you plug AI into that to amplify it, I suppose, is what you're doing. It's like, here's my knowledge, let me amplify this with AI. Someone else coming into the industry now is growing in a completely different manner, and they are starting with AI and they're trying to find nuance within it. They're trying to find their unique angle within AI, which then begs the question of, is anything that anyone is going to create truly going to be unique anymore? Because if we, as business owners and entrepreneurs, starting a company in the easiest way possible, you'd be a fool not to leverage AI in every way, shape, or form. I, for one, teach people how to start agencies now in AI lead generation agencies who use AI in almost every part of their service delivery. Now, are those people gaining a depth of understanding of how to deliver the service like you are? Absolutely not. But it does beg the question whether or not they even need to anymore. And so I suppose there isn't really a question from that statement, but just more of an interesting thought that we are getting into a world where personal knowledge is going to become irrelevant in business. And it's going to be about the utilization of AI, which then begs the question of how the hell we're going to differentiate each other outside of brand, and I suppose storytelling will be the two most important things. Who's going to tell the best story?
Yeah, defo. I have that thought all of the time. I think about that a lot. Like the new start entrepreneurs now, do they even need to understand how to do business?
Do they need to understand how to do it?
Done for them.
But they are temporarily going to be button pressers. They know which buttons to press, and they will make money. We're probably the next 5 years, arguably. I mean, we're all guessing at this point, but just if we think about current advancement, right? The next 5 years of entrepreneurs are just going to be button pressers who will print cash, quite literally. They're going to print cash because most people are still not adopted. That's great. But beyond 5 years, like when AI is sophisticated enough, like it's going to be very hard to, it's going to be the easiest 5 years to get into business. But then beyond that, it's going to be very hard to get into business because the market will be so sophisticated that only people with depth of knowledge will be able to like utilize things to the highest degree. So let's see where that goes.
Good shout.
Let's see where that goes. Okay, Joe, 8 years, you've started an agency, you've built all of this knowledge without AI. If you were to bring yourself right back to starting out, which is probably where most people who are watching this are right now, out of interest, guys, let us know where you are right now. Okay, I would like that information from you. So tell me where you are, where are you at? You started or you got an agency, whatever. Because I'm presuming most people who are watching this are just starting, okay? But I might be incorrect. If you put yourself, with all the knowledge that you've got right now, you come back into a position where you're just starting an agency, what's the single piece of advice that you would give to yourself in order to make sure that you grow a successful business?
I think with any business, like the most important thing is like you've got to have the desire to do it. Go all in, hustle as much as you possibly can. Spend as much time on it as you can. Like the thing that is most important in the early stages is just acquiring some level of knowledge about something. And then when you have that knowledge, use it to your advantage. Exactly the way that I learned in a previous life how to do video editing. I knew that was an asset that I could trade for more knowledge, and we did a deal, and I learned how to run an agency from you. And so I think that it's, hustle, acquire some level of knowledge. Knowledge is still absolutely king. And so that relentless self-education is probably the most important aspect. And I think you should do that as fast as you possibly can. And then really, when it comes to like agencies, very specifically, as soon as you get like one good result, and can I shout his name? Can I shout out his name?
Who? Gonzalo?
Yeah.
Is that who you're referencing now? Yeah, of course.
I think he's a really good example.
We were speaking about him just before.
I think Gonzalo's a really good example of this. A
member of the academy.
I think Gonzalo's a really good example of this. Someone who I've been coaching for the past year or so. Tried lots of different things. Eventually found an industry where he could have a real impact. His ads were working. And then just double down on that as much as you possibly can. Like go and acquire, if you're getting a result for a brand or an industry or a type of client, the fastest way that you can scale an agency is by going and acquiring more of those types of brands, and delivering the same value to each of them. If you want the fastest way to get to 10K a month in an agency, find exactly where you have some level of value, and then do that as much as you possibly can for as many different people as you possibly can. And that's the ultimate fastest way to grow. That's how we grew as well. We accidentally signed up an ecom brand. I ran some ads that I really had no idea about. For whatever reason, the brand was in a good position, so the results started to come in. I then became the king of ecom. You couldn't keep me down. I was just like shouting from the rooftops, I'm the man. And that's how we got some early success, So I think it's
one of the biggest. So many people pigeonhole themselves, and we pigeonhole ourselves over the years many times in the business. And then you're like, okay, let me just focus on this one thing. But before testing and proving that one thing, like the best thing that you can do starting out is just like you're a miner. You've got a pickaxe and you've got a bit of land, and you just dig in as many different areas in that land as you possibly can until you hit some precious metal, and then you just keep digging in that same place, and you use AI to build the most incredible machinery that can mean that you can excavate
Excavate.
as much of that resource as humanly possible.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the race right now. It's just finding the pots of gold. Like, it's finding where the precious metals are for yourself. And the thing is, and the interesting thing about business, because of all of our subjective experience and everything that we've gone through in life, is the pickaxe and the precious metal location is different for every single person. It's not like there's 10 people in a room who have the same map, who are all looking for that same pot of gold. Because of our experiences, because of our habits, because of the jobs that we've had, because of our upbringing, because of our bias, because of the society that we live in, because of the way we perceive the world, because of our country, there are so many individual things that dictate where our pot of gold is going to be, where our precious metal is, and it's different for every single person. For one person, it might be gyms in California. For another person, it might be law firms in a certain county in the UK that they have entire ridiculous value for. You know, and the key is you just have to be open to mining for gold in a number of different places, you know, and then be okay with realizing when that supply of metal has run out, when the mine is depleted, and you have to go and look somewhere else, like we have many times. So it's interesting. Where can people follow you? You've been speaking a lot on stages recently, something that you've been doing an awful lot of, which is awesome to see. Just loved watching you get up on stage. It's
Thanks, man.
Best thing ever, man. Where can people follow you? Where are you most active? I'll put some links in the description.
I am most active on Instagram. I've got lots of reels going out. More and more by the day, which is great. Dropping short nuggets of value that's super relevant for anyone that wants to learn high-level marketing to be able to impact and create value for any kind of business. So that's Instagram Reels, Joe Hides, just one word. Twitter, I'm on there occasionally. Joe Hides. There's some value bombs dropping there as well. And that's pretty much it. I'm kind of like a little bit more elusive, to be honest. So doing the stage talks, doing the Instagram Reels, and yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Nice, man. Cool. Should we go get some dinner?
Let's do it.
Nice. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for having me.